What's going on, Creator Fam? I'm the host that loves you the most, Ozeal, and I want to welcome you to the Creator Factor podcast. This is a podcast for content creators who are building businesses and brands through thought leadership, through education, through community. And here we promise to give you different perspectives, different vibes on how to help elevate your creator factor. And today, y'all, I'm a little giddy, extra giddy today, extra step. Because today we have a special guest in the building who I've been a big fan of for quite some time, ever since I stumbled upon her YouTube channel a few years back when I was in mid freelance career mode. And she's definitely like the leading voice of the freelance community. She's a business owner, founder of James and Park, a video marketing firm, has a dope YouTube channel with over 150,000 subscribers and counting. She's also the voice behind the Freelance Friday podcast. That's right. She's a fellow podcaster. What? Where she shares her knowledge on freelancing, digital marketing, strategy, and of course, entrepreneurship. I can go on and on about her, but let me pause and welcome to the Creator Factor, none other than Latasha James in the building. Latasha, how you doing?
Thank you so much for having me and for that intro. I feel like I need that just on repeat for every room that I walk into, stand a little taller. So appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I'll send you the MP3. I got you.
Right.
Well, listen, it is great to have you on the podcast. As you know, I'm a big fan. Love what you've been doing with the YouTube content. And we're going to talk a little bit about your journey as a YouTube content creator. But first, I was thinking, Latasha, we're edging, towards a new year, 2023 coming down to a close. And, I was thinking about that good old like New Year resolution. And I was going through my journal and I was like looking at some of the things that I accomplished and some of the things that I didn't accomplish.
Yep.
And I started thinking about like, how intentional we are like in the beginning of the year and how we look and then like the execution is way off and just trying to give myself grace that I'm like, okay, I did my best, but what happened with all of this stuff here that I wanted to accomplish? So in that spirit, like, let's talk about 2023 and kind of moving forward. Like, have you thought about that? Are you a big believer, like the New Year resolution? Like, what's your mindset going into a new year? And did you accomplish everything that you put on your list for 2023?
Yeah. I am a big New Year person. I kind of tried to run from it for a while because I'm like, it's just another, it's just a date on the calendar.
Right.
Don't overthink it. But it is really nice to have that kind of fresh, that clean slate. And for me, I'm really big about the end of the year. Basically, I try my very best as a freelancer to take most of December off, actually, when I can. But definitely those days, Christmas to New Year's, like that's a couch week for me. Like I'm hanging out, just totally recharging. And I think it is so important as people who work for ourselves to take that time to recharge because it can be so go, 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 so always on. And I think that kind of rest period brings in so much new energy, so much new creativity. And so for that reason, I am a big New Year person because it's like January, the first workday in January, I'm like ready to go. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, I feel so renewed. And yeah, I think a lot of my goals, it's funny, I was looking at kind of a vision board that I created last year. And I did accomplish a lot of it. I put a lot more personal stuff on mine this past year because I think it's really important. I've been really trying to like feed the holistic version of myself, like my whole self, not just my dollar amounts or
Yeah.
my, all of that. And I find that when I really do lean into that stuff, the other stuff follows. So yeah, I feel good.
What are you most proud of?
Honestly, when this is really weird. So you're probably going to laugh at me. I had a wolf on mine because I just love wolves. Okay.
Okay.
I'm a huge animal person. Big, like I try my best to help them and love them and all of that. And so I moved to an area, didn't see wolves, but I've seen lots of coyote. My first coyote that I've seen in a while. And I also started donating to like a wolf sanctuary. So those things happen. So again, like more personal things that just forced me to live in the moment a little bit more. It has nothing to do with creating videos, but living in the moment helps my creativity so much.
No, I love it.
Mhm.
So, spirit animal is the wolf?
I
Are we gonna go there? It
I
might be.
yeah, I don't know. I don't wanna, like, appropriate that term or anything, but yeah, it just
Yeah,
I love wildlife, and, like, I
yeah,
really feel
yeah.
like it, like,
Love it.
brings me to life a little bit
Brings you centered.
creatively.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's switch gears. And by the way, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Freelancing. Every freelancer, has that moment when they discover that outside world, outside of the 9 to 5 job. I know I did. Whether it was a
Yes.
book or a piece of content that just kind of changed the way you look at life.
Yeah.
Share with us. Was there a moment that changed the way you look and kind of was a transition from corporate into freelance that was like, okay, it's that world. I want to do that. Share with us a little bit about that moment.
Yeah, I mean, my freelancing journey is a long one. Honestly, I started freelancing back when I was in college. It was just like a side gig thing. I
Mhm,
saw this blog post advertised on LinkedIn. I was like, "Oh, I can do that." I've always been an internet person. I've always had my own blog, and so that's kind of how it started. And I definitely saw it as like this side thing, this thing that I
mhm,
would do on the side of things. I didn't really realize that it was a full-time career path. I think until I started working in the corporate world. I obviously graduated college, moved to Detroit, got a good job at a Fortune 500 company, and my freelancing work was growing alongside that career. So as I was growing my corporate career, my freelance business was as well. And I started to realize like, hold on, if I actually put a little bit more time into this, or if I just get like one more client, I'm going to be making what I'm making at my corporate job and working even less, doing stuff that I really enjoy doing. So I think I kind of had to have that corporate experience
mhm.
to show me that it was a real possibility, a real full-time job. And I did the corporate thing for a few years. Like I didn't just, quit right away to do the
Right.
freelancing thing. I think it gave me a lot of great experience, but yeah.
Experience. And, I was thinking, Latasha, as you were saying, sharing that. So when I jumped into the freelance space, I haven't shared this, but I remember I got laid off, and this was like 2011, 2012. And I was with the company for 12 years. And when I got laid off, I was like, I don't know if I can go back to the cubicle. Like I just I went on in on freelancing.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of growing pains, like learning the world of business. I've always been a creative. So
Mhm.
creating something out of nothing has been kind of like what I do is my jam. But learning business, the business side of freelancing has always been a challenge. I know for a lot of creators that are have that tug of war with, should I go all in on my freelance, like just quit my job and just jump in, or should I stay at this job for a bit until I supplement the money and I can
Yeah.
now afford it? I mean, I know there's no right way to
Mhm.
freelance. I know some people, again, like I dove in, you obviously stayed with the job, but there's something about looking back, even through the growing pains. And I've been thinking about this, I've been journaling a lot, something about how working at a corporate level, especially with marketing, what we do, like there's a lot of skill sets that you do learn that
Yes.
can prep you and can benefit you as a freelancer versus freelancers that just jump in and then trying to learn this business thing on the fly. It's tough,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
share some thoughts on that. What's your
Absolutely. I mean, I first of all, I'm a super introvert. So I was like terrified to get on a conference call when I got my first, corporate job. It was just like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to say." So even just those experiences of learning how to speak, how to lead a meeting, how to
Mhm,
speak to people who are in roles that are, I talked to my CEO and trained him on how to use LinkedIn and VPs and things like that, and really learn to communicate with people of all levels. That's something that nowadays I'm really not afraid to talk to anybody. Like, I don't care if you're, a billionaire or if you're the janitor, like, I'm going to treat you the same way with the same amount
confidence.
of respect, the same amount of
Mhm,
confidence. Yeah. And that I don't know that I would have if I had just dove right into freelancing and, working from alone, working for myself so much. I think there's just so much social skills. That was the biggest thing for
yeah,
me because that was the thing that I kind of struggled with. And then also like for marketing, I worked on a corporate marketing team. So I understood
mm,
what roles were within that, and I kind of understood like the politics of it
Yeah.
and how it all works together. So now when I'm going to sell my services to a marketing team, I understand I don't need to go talk to a CEO. I need to go talk to a VP of marketing or a marketing
Mm.
manager or a CMO. You kind of learn those roles and learn how they all interact and all of that stuff.
Making that pivot to freelance, now you leave the job, you decided to go out on your own, you had some clients. As I mentioned, growing pains, learning the business side of things. What would you say was like the hardest challenge as a freelance entrepreneur
Yeah.
early on?
I would say it was probably picking the right opportunities
Mm.
and saying no more.
Yeah.
I said yes to everything and like
Hmm.
no regrets because also you got to do what you got to do. And
Right.
in the beginning, I was like I need to, make up my full-time income. That was my only real goal. I was like I didn't really care how I did it as long as it was
Right.
legal, like, I'm taking the job.
Right.
And like yes, there's a season for that I think and all of that, but I do think I spent a lot of time on things that they're not in my portfolio right now because like they weren't necessarily ideal clients, they weren't things that I was necessarily aligned with, and they were just there to sort of pay the bills.
Hmm.
So I think that is a bit, and even today I struggle with saying no. It's like because I want to help
We help
people, I
everybody. Yeah.
want, yeah, for sure, but not everything is meant for you, and whenever you do say no to something, something else opens up. I really do believe that you're making room for something else. So
Yeah, I was nodding my head to that because that was the hardest lesson. Even till today, it is
yeah.
challenging for me to say no because I remember taking on projects that were completely out of scope, and I was like, "Yeah, I could do
Mhm.
that, and I could do that," and I was like literally like trying to learn the thing, and
Yep.
just kind of, and I'm just because you were trying to make ends meet, and
Yep.
I think that's a lesson for content creators and freelancers that are listening and watching is the importance of really understanding your positioning in the marketplace and what you deliver as a freelancer, and then sticking to that, and then not saying yes to everything because that could be detrimental and not good for your mental health either. 'Cause I was going
Yeah,
crazy.
and it's confusing too.
It
There's,
is. It is.
building a story brand. I, like, quote this thing all the time. It's a book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. One
Mhm.
of the things that he says is, "When you confuse, you lose." And I just always
Mm,
keep that in mind when you're putting together an offer, when you're writing a sales page, when you're on a podcast sharing what you do. If you start rattling off way too many things and
yeah.
people can't, like, place you, they're not gonna wanna work with you, and it's so hard because we wanna be the everything for we wanna be able to
Yeah.
solve everybody's problems,
Right.
but, that actually kinda repels people, I find. Being more direct and to the point is more beneficial.
Absolutely. 1000% agree with that. I want to talk to you a little bit because I'm really big on like productivity, and one of my struggles, and I know a lot of freelancers out there, again, especially for those who just jump in
Yeah.
to the entrepreneurial freelance space, is we have to create this structure in our life, in our business, right? We have to create a routine that's going to make it uh, that will help us, right, become successful entrepreneurs, or else just time goes. And I'm sure you struggle with that as well early on.
Yeah.
What advice would you give for like just how to structure your days? And I know it varies depending on the individual, but like what have you found and what was helpful for you early on structuring your days and making sure that you were set up for success as a freelancer?
Yeah. I mean, I think it varies by individual, and I think it also
Yeah.
varies by where you're at in your business.
Okay.
So, day 1 as a full-time freelancer, my primary goal was client acquisition.
Mm.
So, my day was really focused around that. Like that is my priority that day. Whereas, maybe when I was more middle of my journey, I suppose, up until this point, I was really focused on client satisfaction. So I wanted to make sure that client delivery and client satisfaction was at the heart of my day. Um, Now I kind of am more into like the business development and building the brand and things like that. So you have different areas of focus like
Hmm.
throughout your different, and you can go back and forth between them, of course. So, when I was first starting out, I first of all, I think for no matter what stage you're at, you've got to have little bit of a selfish morning routine. And this doesn't have to be like sometimes you see like the TikTok morning routines that are like,
Right.
do you have a job? Like you just I just watched this like 3-hour morning routine. You went to the gym, you had a gourmet breakfast, you went for a run. I'm like, no, this can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like whatever you can squeeze in. But I try to always make sure I told you earlier about my like nerdy like wolf story. Like I try to, for me, it's like nature. I have to spend some amount of time like having sun on my skin, looking at trees, like
Yeah.
grounding myself in some way. So sometimes that's like a mile long walk. Sometimes it's around the block, but making sure that I do that for myself, it's really important to be able to clear my head and like live life a little bit before kind of letting the world have its way with you, and diving right into the work. For me, also, I'm big on nutrition, so making sure that
Yeah.
you're eating and fueling your body. The days when I don't eat breakfast, I'm like anxious, I'm mad, I'm stressed out, I'm not
You're a
productive.
breakfast gal from what I hear, huh? Breakfast
Yes,
gal.
that's I mean, that's the meal that I won't skip. I can skip other meals, but like,
I'm the
no,
same
you
way.
gotta fuel yourself,
Yeah.
properly. So yeah, making sure that you have a morning routine is really important. And then getting into kind of the priorities list that might vary a little bit depending on the stage that you're at.
Yeah. So let me ask you about the evening routine. Like, what is the evening? Do you have an evening routine? And like, how do you? I know you mentioned before that you're a night owl. Are you still the
Mhm.
night owl, or is there a time where you just clock out? Because I know that could be challenged for a lot of creative
Yeah,
entrepreneurs.
it can be challenging. I do find that I've kind of trained my brain to actually be a little more creative in the mornings. This has been something
Yeah.
that has been a work in progress. I don't know what it is like, but I feel like, so I'm writing a book right now, and the best writing that I can get out is first thing, like right after I wake up, like right after I go take that walk, eat breakfast. I have to get my words out then when I'm kind of
Yeah.
still in like that semi dreamlike state. And I think that's what I liked about being a night owl is I was like kind of tired and like, so I think you can kind of, if you are a night owl, maybe try early mornings instead and see if that works for you. Um, but so yeah, I can do either, but it is really important to have a separation between work and life for me. And so at the end of the workday, I close the door to my office. I have a work laptop and I have like an iPad that's for fun. So,
Yeah.
iPad's downstairs, laptop does not come in my
That's
bedroom,
nice. That's
in my
good.
living room, having like different
Yeah.
devices for different things,
I like that.
closing your office door if you have one. It can be challenging, like during the pandemic, I was living in an apartment and me and my husband were both working out of there. So like our office was in the kitchen. I get it. It's not always possible, but as much as you can do to kind of separate that space is really, really helpful. And then having something that you look forward to in the evening too, which again, doesn't have to mean you're going out and spending a ton of money or doing anything crazy, but it can be like, oh, I'm going to try this new recipe tonight, or, I'm going to watch this movie, or,
Hmm.
whatever really lights you up. That can really help me too, because otherwise it's like, well, what else am I going to do? I might as well just keep my laptop open and keep working on the next thing.
Yeah, that's me.
Mhm,
That's me.
mhm. Yeah,
Trying to get that evening routine down, which is super important. I think nobody talks about that. It's like the
yeah,
most overlooked, daily routine or habit is that everybody talks about the morning routine for some reason. That's super
yep,
sexy. But when it comes to the evening routine, which is just as or maybe even more important because it does set you up for the
yep,
next day. And I think it's
for
important that we
sure.
talk about that. So I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
The book. Latasha,
yeah,
news to me. I mean, I don't know, we can't talk too much about it, but talk
yeah.
to us a little bit about like what inspired you for right now to write this book and where we going with this next.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I've been writing a book for actually like 2 years.
It's a process,
Um,
right?
yeah, it is a process. Okay, the honest answer is I've written like 2 different books during that
Okay.
time.
Okay.
The book I intended to write originally, I feel like it might still happen, but it's a little bit like next level. I needed a more foundational, like, hey, Latasha is a new writer. This is like what you these are the questions that I've kind of answered over the years and the foundational bits of knowledge that people
Right.
need to know. So yeah, it's about freelancing. I'll share more. I'm hoping that it'll be out early next year. That's
Okay.
kind of my goal. So
Get a little sneak peek.
yeah.
They say that writing is one of the most grueling,
Mhm.
process type of creative projects out there. Everybody that I talk to, their first book specifically, they're like, man, that was
Yeah.
rough, but it's so rewarding. So
It is.
um,
It is.
I'm
Well,
really
I don't
looking
know
for.
yet, actually, I don't know, but, we're even just getting the words out is
Yeah,
rewarding.
yeah.
Like, sometimes I think we overthink too, what are the
Mm,
next steps? Like,
mm,
how are people gonna be thinking about this? And it's like, you have to do it for you, and that's my answer to everything content. You have to do it for you first. And
mhm.
for me, even just writing and getting these words out onto paper has been so rewarding. So, it's like, I am gonna publish it, but even if I
Okay,
didn't, it would
okay.
be a really helpful exercise. So, I encourage people to, try it, to just get their feelings out onto paper. It is
Yeah,
really rewarding.
yeah. Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Definitely keep us posted on that one.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a bit and talk about one of my favorite, one of my joys in life as a content creator is podcasting.
Yeah.
So, Latasha, when I saw that you launched a podcast, and I remember I saw it, and I think at the beginning I could tell like you were just kind of dabbling and trying to like figure it out, and then you went on in and you rebranded. I saw the artwork being changed. I was like, "Ooh, okay, she's
Yeah.
digging podcasting." So, I'm curious to know, and I'm a fan. Like you're doing a great job, by the way. It's a great podcast. Highly recommended the Freelance Friday podcast. I'm curious to know because
Yeah.
you're a YouTuber. That's your sandbox, but now you're in the podcasting space. How's your podcasting experience been? Like, what are your thoughts on this new
Yeah.
medium or not new medium? It's been a while for a while, but this medium
Mhm.
called podcasting.
Yeah, I love podcasting. I started the podcast because some very similar reason to why I'm writing a book is because I was getting
Mm,
questions from my YouTube audience that required so much more space and
yeah.
time than the typical YouTube, video allowed for or really did well with. So I was like, okay, this requires, 40 minutes, 30-minute answer, not just a quick, punchy YouTube video. So that's really why I started it. And also because I wanted to talk to people. I did a lot more interviews back in the earlier days than I do now. I do some still, but it was a
And you're
great
and you're, and you're great at interviewing, by the way. You should
thank
totally get
you.
back to that. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, so it's a great excuse to talk to people. I mean, if you ever wanna pick anybody in your industry's brain or make friends, like, having a reason to invite somebody on a call, it's a great excuse for that, podcasting is. You mentioned, kind of YouTube versus podcasting almost or, YouTube instead of I think they work really well together. Like, this is
Okay.
my best advice for people, and I don't know if you put your show on YouTube or not, but yeah.
It's on there. Yeah.
Yes, great way to repurpose content. Great way to, do 2 things at once
Yeah.
is just record video alongside your audio, put it up on YouTube. YouTube is great for discoverability,
That's
whereas
right.
I feel like the podcasting platform's not so much. It's a little
Brutal.
more yeah.
Brutal.
I
Yeah.
feel like Spotify's a little better than, like, Apple
Hmm.
Podcasts. I do
Hmm.
get some people saying they found me on Spotify, but mostly YouTube for me is where people find me.
Okay.
And then, yeah, doing double duty, putting that audio onto the other platforms, and then you can repurpose your video clips onto the short form. Like, it all works really well together. So I still think there is definitely a place for podcasting, even in like this short form world, for sure.
So a couple of things I want to that popped up in my head right now. Number one is, are you finding it as a creator? Because I know with YouTube, there's scripting involved and research, but are you finding that one of the I want to say one of the most overlooked benefits in launching a podcast, doing a podcast consistently is that you become better at articulating an idea and a message. Maybe if you want to
Mm,
really kind of figure out like what you're trying to share. I do find like, I don't know if you're seeing it as well, like when you speak into a microphone, even if you go audio only, especially,
yeah.
I find myself just closing my eyes and just, I just press record and speak your truth. And I feel like there's something about that intimacy of just
Yeah.
listening to my voice in my earbuds and just let go and flow. That just helps me become a better communicator. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Definitely the audio only. I
Yeah.
always I my audience knows this. If there's an audio only episode, like there is some tea in that episode. Like it's like a confessional.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but there's something because I feel no need to quote like perform, if you will.
That's right.
And that's not to say that
That's
that's not
it.
to say that I'm being fake or anything on YouTube, but there is a certain level of like performance that is involved in, I think, the visual mediums
Yes.
where yes, when you're doing like confessional style, I mean, I'm usually like in my PJs, like, it's
And you're
just it is.
flowing, right? You're just
Yes.
letting it, you're just going and going and
Yes.
going. Yeah.
For sure. For
You
sure.
can hear it. And I can hear it. I remember listening to your episodes. And I think that's one of the thing when we talk about YouTube versus podcast. Obviously, YouTube is in our space. They love podcasting. They're doubling down. They made it very open that they're investing even more in the podcasting space, which as a podcaster OG, like I love that. I love that because discoverability. And I do feel like this new era of the personal brand being on both video and audio and the repurposing, I think there's a
Yeah.
ton of benefits for creators that have been podcasting to embrace YouTube, and YouTubers now embracing podcasting. I think it's beautiful to see that. But there's something about, I don't want to negate the power of storytelling through audio only, and
Mhm.
how like if you just do an audio only every now and then, there's something
Yeah.
about it being more intimate
Yep.
and being a little bit more like just soulful about the
Mhm.
medium versus video, as you said. So I love that. And when I hear it, when you did the audio only, I was like, oh yeah, she's flowing. Like
Yeah.
she's speaking her truth. And there's something that audio does that we don't get in video.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
yeah, so more of that. Go more
Yeah.
audio, Latasha. Come on,
Yeah.
why
Okay. I
not?
love
Let's go.
that. You're inspiring me. Interviews, audio. Got it. Got
Got it.
it.
Do you see this video podcasting growing moving forward as a piece
I
of content
do.
marketing? Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they're the new talk shows of today, you
That's it.
know?
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and I know talk shows are still a thing, but like I
Yeah.
think especially for the younger generation, that's
Hmm.
what they're consuming. That's how they're paying attention to what's going on in the world or what their favorite creators or celebrities or whoever is talking about. So, yeah, I definitely see it growing and I'm excited for it too. I'm excited to see what YouTube
Yeah.
has up their
How they're
sleeve.
gonna grow. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
The new talk show. I like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Dig it. Okay. Let's switch gears to YouTube. Let's talk about
Yeah.
YouTube a bit. Your YouTube channel has evolved. You've been growing. How has your content strategy evolved ever
Yeah.
since you started your YouTube channel? Because I feel like audio is one thing, but
Yeah.
boy, YouTube is a whole different animal. I mean, I'm still trying to
Yeah.
crack the code with the
Yeah.
podcast. So talk to us a little about the evolution and how your strategy has changed since then.
I mean, so I'm a YouTube dinosaur. I've been on YouTube for a decade. So how much time do we have? Like seriously,
When'd you start?
I mean, what 2013?
Oh, so you're oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I've been on YouTube for a long time. Now, with that said, there have been different eras,
Mhm.
very vastly different eras of my YouTube career. I really technically started like doing what I'm doing now probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
I actually started as like I did like beauty and lifestyle content. So I did like makeup tutorials and things like that just because it was fun. Um, and I really fell in love with YouTube. I mean, I was going to school for film at the time, so that was part of why I created it is just to practice and have a place to put my projects from school.
That's where those dope video editing skills come
Like
from. Film
yeah,
school. Okay. Okay. I see it now.
yeah,
Okay.
I went to
Okay.
school for film and
Right on.
yeah, I was just having fun. And honestly, I mean, I know that's not a part of what anybody cares about. Like, I get it. Like, I was just having fun. No one really likes to hear that answer, but I do think we need to get back to that too.
Mm,
Because I wouldn't be here if I didn't just have fun making makeup videos on YouTube. I
mm,
wouldn't. If I was like, I want to be the biggest big business influencer and do all this, I don't think I would be here. You
mhm.
have to give yourself time to play and to have fun and
Yeah.
to discover what you really like doing. And for me, it wasn't doing makeup, but it was doing YouTube. I found a different love in that that I was able to bring with me throughout my career and build a whole business out of. So sometimes I feel like sharing that story isn't very helpful. Of like I just started doing, but like that's how you have to do it. Like lean into what is lighting you up, and the rest will follow. Truly,
I'm glad you spoke that truth because I was having a conversation with a creator who is struggling. So, I mean, she's been struggling for a minute now, trying to she got the message of this lesson of niching down,
yeah,
and she was like, I'm trying to niche down, but I'm multi-creative, I have ADHD, I have all these interests, and it's
yeah,
hard for me to niche down. And I was just finally I just replied with just start with your joy. Like lean into the things that bring you joy. Like let's just forget the niche talk.
Yep.
Let's talk about all just lean into the things that light you up because that's what's going to come most natural. It'll give you all the content ideas. And then from there you can shape and you can change, much like you did with beauty and
Yeah.
social media and you got into freelance, but you gave
Yep.
yourself permission to say, hey, I'm going to start and then I'll figure this thing out along the way. And I feel like people are fearful of what people are going to think, but also is the algorithm going to penalize me if I
Mhm.
decide to go here and go there? And I
Yep.
think that's a little bit of all that. Just talk on that a little bit more if you
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
niche it down.
For sure, for sure. I mean, and even me today, I know the formula. Like if I really wanted to be the biggest like as big as I possibly could, I know all the keywords, I know the thumbnails, I know how to do that. I still am not as niche down as I possibly could. I still do, yes, my content is entrepreneurship focused, but I do vlogs where I'm just like sharing my life. And sometimes I'm sharing the occasional like recipe that I'm making or, something that's a little bit more personal. And I do the podcast and I do more sit down
Mhm,
tutorials. Like, still do have a mix of content on my channel.
mhm.
And there is a space for that because if I just became like an SEO bot and I was just clearly trying to win my niche, you lose a bit of that human connection.
Yeah,
And those more personal videos that are actually my least viewed, like a vlog, like I don't get very many views on those. The people who are leaving comments under those are like the super fans. They're the people who
yeah,
support me, who, come to my events, who buy the things that I do. So I think it's very obvious when somebody is just trying to win a niche or, just
right.
hack the algorithm. It's like
Mhm,
the reason we watch YouTubers and not go to like whatever corporate website or, look on TV or whatever is because we're real humans and we can relate
mm,
to those people on the other side of the screen. So don't be afraid to let yourself be human. And yes, all humans are multifaceted. There's not a human in the world who only likes to talk about one topic. I mean, that's not a thing. So allow yourself to be yourself. You can still keep it. Like for me, I do vlogs, but I reframed them from being maybe more lifestyle focused to being here is a week in my business. And I share, like, hey, here's what I'm doing at work every day, vlog
mhm,
format, as opposed to just kind of like, here's what I had for dinner or whatever. So there's ways that you can tie it back to your niche while still keeping that human connection.
yeah,
But to your point, like to the person that you were talking with, you gotta, like I said, you gotta play. You gotta play around,
yeah,
see what feels right, see what people respond to. Sometimes it's not gonna be the thing that you expect.
right.
There might be an interest she has or, a topic she likes to talk about that she would never think has viability in the algorithm or commercially or whatever, that might really take off. So you gotta try different things
Yeah,
before you really hone in.
yeah. You won't know until you start, right?
Mhm.
Your perfect
For
start.
sure.
I'm glad you shared that. And one of the things that you pointed out is the importance of, and that's the reason I love your content is just it's very genuine. It's very who you are. Like you're not faking the funk. Like, it's Latasha James. I mean, it's just different, because I go down the YouTube channels and I know other creators that is just everything's just so contrived and very SEO in the titles. I mean, the tactics are you
Yeah.
could tell it's very clear that they're just trying to grow, 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 grow for the numbers' sake. And then I love that you said just lean into the things that bring you joy and don't be afraid to lean into a vlog or do
Mhm.
things not necessarily are not going to be favorable to the algorithm, but do it because you enjoy doing. I know
Yeah.
there's a YouTuber that I came across and he's just like, yo, I've been stuck at 800K, subs for whatever reason. YouTube ain't giving me no love. And he was just like, I'm just going to do things my way.
Yep.
Forget all the tips and strategies everybody's sharing, and I'm gonna just go live stream. And all he's doing is live streaming like 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And he's not really growing. I mean, from the metric standpoint, but he's saying, I don't care. Like I'm
Yeah.
just having fun. And I thought creators need to get back to that space.
For sure. And I think we also sometimes need to keep things in perspective too, because like
Yeah.
800,000 subscribers, or even me, like I'm smaller in the grand scheme of things, right? Like 180,000 people who said they want to watch what I'm doing. Like that is I can't even imagine that many people in a room. And so sometimes it is really easy to get kind of bogged down by like, oh, well, I could be better. I could be more niche. I
Right.
could be winning. And it's like, but like even what I just said, the vlogs, they get lower views. 2,000 people is nothing. Like that's a
Yeah.
lot of people
Yeah.
that you're impacting. So keep that in perspective too.
And what I'm hearing too, Latasha, is don't take your listeners or your
Mhm.
downloads for our podcasters for granted. Like
Yeah.
be grateful. Be
Yep.
grateful. Like I always tell my podcast clients when like, yo, man, I'm just getting like 50 downloads. I'm like, yo, 50 people, man. Like
Yeah.
be grateful. Those are, people that you need to respect. They're giving you their listener time. They are
Yep.
listening to your podcast. Respect that. And I feel again goes back to what you said, perspective, and just be grateful for every viewer, if it's
Yeah.
2K or if it's 50 downloads,
Yep.
because they're giving you their time. I love that. I love how we're just vibing on this. And you also
Yeah.
mentioned human connection, which I feel like, Latasha, speak on this. Like in this day and age where, obviously short form is becoming a thing. And I get it. Like
Hmm.
it's powerful. And automation,
Yeah.
bots. Now
Yeah.
you got AI
Yep.
emerging, and there's so many things. And now, if you're in the AI game, like everybody's repeating and it's copy, and you
Yes.
see the AI titles now becoming redundant. I'm like, okay, all right, now we got to get creative. Now we got to get back to the human spirit of being creators. And we
Yes.
could do better than that. And what kind of hurts me is when I see creators just kind of copy and paste. I'm like, yo, you're a creator. Like, what are you doing? So, anyway, speak on like the emergent technology. I mean, with AI,
Yeah.
augmented really, AR
Yeah.
and virtual reality, everything that's happening. Like, how is that going to affect us as content creators? And what are your thoughts on that? I
Yeah.
went on a
I
tangent there. You got me fired up there,
I
Latasha. Oh my
know.
God. Go ahead.
I
Take it
know.
away.
I'm choosing my words carefully. No. No, I mean, listen, I'm not I'm making a joke because I feel like sometimes my audience thinks I'm like this AI hater or something. I'm like old school. It's not that. I do think there's some great stuff, particularly when it comes to like medicine. And I'm like, yes, I'm all about that.
Mhm,
Like solve all the diseases. Like this is amazing.
mhm.
And even in marketing and even in creativity, there are amazing things that it can do. However, I think that you still have to keep that human connection. Like that is what makes us human, is the fact that we have emotions and that we relate to each other and
Yeah.
that we can communicate back and forth. So it can't be a copy paste brand. Like that's not going to work. It might get you those SEO views. It's not going to keep people there. So you always have to have some human element, some human interaction into it. And I also think that you need to lean into what lights you up, lean into your zone of genius, if you will. People keep telling me how much I need to be using AI to do copywriting for me, but I'm a writer. I like I like to write. It's if you don't like to write, sure, it's probably a great starting point for you. I like to write. So why would I take the part of the creation process that is so joyful and so valuable to me and take that away? Why would I do that? You know? So like if you like doing a particular aspect of your job, that's not the area that you need to automate or outsource. Lean into that. I still edit my own videos. People are like, "Why don't you pay an editor?" I'm like, "Cuz I like doing it."
Mhm.
And for me it's a form of communication.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I think sure there are definitely things that I'm sure can help people, and that's great. But like, don't forget why you started in the first place. Don't forget to put your stamp on things, and don't forget to lean into what you enjoy doing. Don't let anyone take that away from you just because a robot can maybe do it faster or
Yeah,
whatever. I mean, you still have to like doing it.
that's right. Well said. Well
Mhm.
said. Switching gears here on you are also the founder of your own agency, as I
Yeah.
mentioned, James and Park. And I'm curious to like know, how do you, Superwoman, handle running an agency in
Yeah.
addition to being a content creator, having a successful YouTube channel, and doing all the things? It goes back, I guess, to structuring your day. But I try to do the agency thing in addition to content creation, failed completely,
Yeah.
and I'm just trying to get back into that sweet spot. So how do you do it?
Yeah, honestly, it's about being selective. Going back to kind of that first tip, it's
Yeah.
about being selective in the work that I take on. So
Okay.
I'm fully transparent that I don't take on 1,000 clients a
Okay.
year or even 100, nowhere close to that. I actually have really honed in my offers and I only do a few things now. And they are higher ticket projects.
Okay.
So I'm only working with a few agency clients per year. And so, and it don't get me wrong, it doesn't come overnight. Like that wasn't always the case. There was definitely a season where, and they're on YouTube, you can find them, where I was
Mhm.
hustling, trying to do all the things. And then I realized what I really liked doing, what I was really good at doing, and what there was a market for, and what people were willing to pay a good amount of money for. Um, and I honed in on that instead of trying to do all the things.
Mm.
So right now, I'm focusing on creating mostly video courses for people and companies. That's my primary offer that we do through the agency
Okay.
is script the courses, shoot the courses, edit, do the marketing content for them. So those are higher ticket projects.
Done for
Take
you? Is that a done
Yep,
for you? Okay.
yep,
Mm.
totally done for you. We'll shoot it on location, or you can come to Detroit and do it. That's the primary thing that we're doing.
Okay.
So we know our roles, like the people who I work with, we know our roles really well in the process. It's really systematized so that we're not like what you mentioned earlier, kind of learning on the job, like, oh yeah, I can do that. And then like going to YouTube and like learning how to do the thing. Nope. It's stuff that I know I could do like with my eyes shut. And that makes it a lot easier and a lot more scalable that way. And I'm also able to charge a premium for it because of that. So
Do you ever see yourself going just full time as a content creator, or do you feel like you do need the agency
yeah.
gig to balance things out?
I really love working with clients.
Mm.
And I think it really is helpful to kind of keep my ear to the ground, if you
Yeah.
will. It's like, what would I talk about? What would I talk about giving entrepreneurship advice? And don't get me wrong, content creation is a business. So I don't want to say like not running a business, because being a full-time content creator is absolutely a business. But most of the people who listen to Freelance Friday, they are service providers. They are social media managers
Hmm.
or videographers. They're working with clients. So it's like, how can I give this advice if it's been years since I've actually worked with a done for you client? So for me, right now, you maybe ask me about this in a couple of years, I might have a different answer. But right now, it is important for me to at least, to keep that, to keep to keep up with that, and to keep
Yeah. Keep
at
the
least
knife
some
sharp.
clients on there. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, that.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I like it because you are still kind of playing within the same sandbox, right? You are,
Mhm.
and I think that's the advantage is that you're really the benefit for these companies to work with you is that you brand and you market as a creator. And
Mhm.
that's your advantage. Like I think a
Yeah.
lot of the times when I see marketing agencies that try to work with, and I've seen it close hand, when they try to work with other companies, but they have no idea what it's like to be in the mix, what it's like to
Yeah.
create content that's going to engage an audience. And I feel like your competitive advantage is the fact that you're a bona fide creator. Like you understand the audience, you understand the things that are going to resonate, or at least
Yeah.
have a better understanding, right? When you go into it. So I feel like you can create like a brand. I think that's an added bonus to
Yeah.
hire you. So I think
Thank
that's
you.
dope. I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you. Can I say another thing on that question
Please,
too?
please.
I also will say, I think it's really smart, and for any like new freelancers out there, I think it's really smart to pick a service and pick a product that you can offer, because life changes. Year over year, demand for different things. Like this year has been a very brand heavy year for me.
Mhm.
Not sure why, but like brands have had budget. I think, kind of post like that, like 2020, 2022, like everything kind of stopped because
Yeah.
of COVID. I think things are coming back, and brands have budget. 2020, my clients were cutting me, because no one was sure what was going on. So I needed to be able to have different things to offer to be able to still make money. Who knows what 2024 will be like? So I think it's really smart to have a diverse set of skills and
Yeah.
diverse set of services or products that you can offer too. I know we talked about niching down, honing in, being clear, but just having different ways that you can serve people too. Whether it's done for you versus content versus courses versus brand work, because you never know, like this freelance world, you have to be able to adapt a little
Mhm.
bit too.
That's
So
it.
that's also why I always like to keep the pipeline full of clients too.
2024. What's exciting you the most as a creator, as a business owner, Latasha? Like, what are you really looking forward to in
Yeah.
2024?
Well, I'm really excited. I guess, yeah, I'm really excited to publish this book. It's
Of
been,
course.
like I said, on my heart for a couple of years, and I'm really excited for that to happen. I've got some exciting speaking things. I'll be at Social Media Marketing World again this year. I spoke at my first one last year, which was
Okay,
super
pause.
fun. Yeah.
Okay, talk about that because I know you're going to get into speaking. Are we going to be seeing a little bit more of you on the speaking circuit? I
Yeah,
can
I
see
mean,
you doing that.
I've done a lot. I mean, I've done a lot last year, and
Okay.
yeah, I've already got a couple things booked for 2024. So yeah, it's super fun. It is a little scary. Like I said, I'm very introverted, and
Yeah.
so it's not really in my natural like wheelhouse necessarily, but it's a good thing to push myself to do. I
Love it.
always feel good afterwards,
Hmm.
and I think the connection you get with an audience in person is just there's nothing like it, you
Nothing
know?
like it.
So, yeah, excited for some more in-person stuff, excited for the book, excited for client work too. I've got clients who are gonna be releasing courses that I've produced for them,
Okay.
in 2024, so that'll be fun, and I don't know, YouTube is I feel like actually I've been having a little bit of, like, a YouTube crisis, to be honest with you. I'm like, I don't
I've
know.
been hearing that with a lot of creators, by the way, a lot of
Yeah?
YouTubers specifically. Yeah, a
Okay,
lot of just
interesting.
not growing, not growing. It's
Yeah.
just like, what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just my audience has been resonating really well with this new series that I put out, which is basically like a news show for social media.
Okay.
I'm kind of just like sharing all the different social media marketing headlines, which is cool. But I'm like, do I do more of that stuff or not? So I'm kind of still figuring it out. Like, do I go more in that direction? Do I keep it mixed up? Do I create a new podcast that's just a social
Mm.
media news podcast? Like I'm kind of using this end of the year time to sort of figure that out, but
Well,
I'm
well,
excited.
the follow-up question is, Latasha, does that bring you joy? Does
Yeah,
that bring you joy? That's
it
okay.
does, it
Okay.
does, yeah.
Okay.
I told you I went to school for film. What I really wanted to do was be on the news. So I'm like, this is like it's coming full circle. It's my own
Yeah.
little social media news show. So I don't know, but I'm just having fun. We'll see.
We'll see. Hey, but listen, I see it though. I do
Yeah.
see it. And I just saw a video, which by the way, guys, I'm gonna make sure I posted it in the show notes. Latasha, your one of your last videos, the whiteboard where you did the breakdown,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
fire. I mean,
Thank
it
you.
is fire. Like,
Yeah,
yo, check it out. Like, it's
thank
for
you.
any freelancer that needs, like, it was super helpful for me to even revisit that, Latasha, just to
Yeah,
see the breakdown. Cause again, it goes back to what you said earlier
yeah,
in entrepreneurship, as freelance, as creators, we overthink everything. And
yeah.
business is not easy, but it's simple. And
Mhm.
that whiteboard encapsulated like how simple it is to reverse engineer, to break down the numbers. You gave some different pricing tiers. And it's
Yeah.
just that simple, and then attack. And I feel like you just did a fantastic job doing that. I hope we get to see more of those whiteboards because I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
I like
I
those.
will definitely do that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I like those. All right. So as we land the plane, Latasha, I always ask my guests if there's one creator factor that
Mhm.
every content creator should learn, master, or at least have a deeper understanding of. What would that be?
Listening to yourself, listening to whatever you wanna call it, whether it's your inner voice, your intuition, your creativity, whatever, like, listening to what you really feel called to do, because that's what makes you you. It's really easy, I can give you the advice to look at the trends, look at what's trending, look at what the other top creators in your niche are doing, listen to what everybody else is telling you to do, but if you're not feeling excited about what you're creating, it is going to show through. And you might do well. Like I see some people who do well for a little bit and then they burn out, they crash and burn because their heart's not in it. And you can't keep up with that. I wouldn't have been able to do YouTube for 10 years if I hated it. I love doing it. It's not for everybody. Some people hate every aspect of it. Do something else. Um, because yeah, it's a long game. Creating content's a long game. So you gotta like it. You don't have to love every moment of it. There are some things I don't like about it, but overall, I feel really, really lucky to be able to do this for a job.
LatashaJames.com, the Freelance Friday podcast. Highly recommended. Check it out. And of course, you can connect with Latasha at the Latasha James on social. Everything again will be linked up in the show notes. And also check out the online business launch lab. I feel like a lot of great courses. There's a video, I think, podcast course there as
Yeah.
well. Latasha's, hey, okay.
Yeah.
So she's doing that. So there's a lot of great courses. We'll make sure we link it up. Check it out. Latasha, it's been a little slice of heaven, my friend, to connect with you, to finally connect with you. I know I've been watching you from afar, big fan, and a lot of respect for what you're doing and what you're doing for the freelance community and for creators all over. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.